There was a separation. The weaker went to Laban. What do we see Laban do? Laban was he was dishonest. He didn't do judgment. He did not destroy the thoughts or commands that were of sin or were wrong. Jacob did, and his cattle was stronger. This also points to when we look at Mashiach putting the goats on the left hand and the sheep on the right, because he said he kept the lambs. And remember, Mashiach says that my sheep know me and they follow me. The stronger go with Elohim, the weaker go to the adversary. The weaker are those who give in to their flesh. Why are they giving in to their flesh? Because they're not executing judgment. Repeatedly in this book tells you about executing judgment. You have to know how to execute judgment. You have to know how to destroy the words of sin. Let's go to John chapter 7. Or the actions of sin right now. John chapter 7. Sam. Screw, we'll start at 14. I'll read all of that. It ain't gonna kill nothing. John 7 and 14. Now in the midst of the feast, Yahushua went up into the temple and taught. And the Yahudim marveled, saying, How know this man letters, having never learned? Yahushua answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Elohim or whether I speak of myself. He that speak of himself seek his own esteem, but he that seek his esteem that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. So remember, that's no violent acts, that's no impurity, that's no transgression, there's no sin in this person. Did not Moses give you the Torah, yet none of you keep the Torah? Why go ye about to kill me? The people answered and said, Thou hast a devil. Who go about to kill thee? Yahushua answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and ye all marvel. Moses therefore gave unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers, and you on the Shabbat circumcise a man. If a man on the Shabbat receives circumcision that the Torah of Moses should not be broken, are you angry at me because I have made a man every whit whole on Shabbat? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. He told them to not go off, and this is how you know when we're talking about destroying the words that contain sin. They knew there wasn't any sin in anything that he did. They looked at the appearance of it. They were doing. He was working on that, but they were showing that they weren't of the seed of Abraham, because if they were, they would have been doing the works of Abraham, because they would have been executing justice and judgment. They would have stood for what was right, and they would have not condemned what was right. See, people don't like judgment. They don't like judgment because of this. John 7 and 7. This is why they don't like judgment. John 7 and 6, actually. Then Yahushua said unto them, My time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but me it hated, because I testify of it, that the works thereof are evil. See, Elohim say he is Elohim of judgment. He say he loves judgment, which we're going to read. It say he loves judgment. He loves what is right. And he loves the words that destroy the things that are wrong. Not destroy the... See, understand the difference. Executing judgment is not destroying the person that is wrong, but destroying the things that are wrong. See, when you judge, that is when you are condemning and destroying the individual that is wrong. Because you have to consume the serpent. You have to consume the words of the serpent, the deeds of the serpent. You have to consume that, or the commands of the serpent. So therefore, he that commits sin is of the devil. So when you judge and you have to do that, When you actually have to execute Shaphat, that's when you have to condemn. And meaning to justify the righteous over the wicked. When you're placed in a situation to judge. And that doesn't always mean condemnation to the point of death or eternal damnation. It depends on the situation of which is being judged. But when we're talking about executing judgment and doing no unrighteousness in judgment, there can be no wrong and speak. And this is how you know niggas is wicked. Because niggas don't like judgment. This is why the world said the world hated him, because he testified of it, because he was executing judgment that the world thereof was evil. He wasn't talking about no Gentiles. He wasn't talking about the nations. He was talking about you and me, we, us, YAHUAH, as a whole, as a collective. Let me show y'all something real quick. Luke chapter 6, man. Just because I had this conversation, man. I told you this before, but I'm going to tell you this again. Luke chapter 6, right? And verse 22. He said, Baruch are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in Shamahim, for in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. Well, let's look at that. 2 Chronicles chapter 36 and verse 12. Yes.
I see you got damaged because problem with this man.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. After 2 Chronicles 36, Micah chapter 7. And from Micah chapter 7,
Bandage.
you okay, my man? And then after Micah chapter 7, John chapter 15, and then back to Luke chapter 6. Of course, I will repeat all of that. 2 Chronicles 36 and 12. Peep the play now. And the reason why we looking at this here is and I didn't mention this part, but I'm going to mention it now. This is why Joseph's master's wife lied on him and turned him in. Because he was testifying to her that her deeds were evil. He lived in her house. Therefore, a member of his household became his enemy. Because he judged and determined that this action is wrong, and I cannot sin nor participate in said wickedness. 2 Chronicles 36 and 12. And he did that with verse 11. Zechariah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of YAHUAH his Elohim, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of YAHUAH. And he rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who made him swear by Elohim. But he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto YAHUAH Elohim of YAHUAH. Moreover, all the chief priests of the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of YAHUAH, which he hallowed in Jerusalem. Hold on. Remember that there where it said they polluted the house. Because we finna look at that in a moment. He said they polluted the house. YAHUAH Elohim of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of Elohim. Listen what he said. And despised his words. They mocked the messengers of Elohim and despised his words, and misused his prophets, until the wrath of YAHUAH arose against his people, till there was no remedy. I want to make my words very clear and very easy to decipher and understand. I want everyone to know that majority of our people who in the word scream that they want unity between everybody that believes the word. I want to say, personally speaking for myself, that is a beautiful thing. I have not a single solitary problem with it. But now when we go to dealing with this word, we have a conundrum. We have a problem. Because this book says certain things of this theory of which men speak of does not compute with what's written in this book for that to occur. Because if all of us are holding hands in harmony, then who are the ones who are going to be blessed because people are separating them from their company and misusing them and treating them like the former prophets were in the days of old? Because that's what Mashiach said in Luke chapter 6. That they gonna come after you after they. So if you preaching the word and everybody love you, that does not compute with this book. Doesn't compute. People feel how they want to feel, but this book is right. This book is right. I don't care what nobody say, nor how nobody feel. This book is right. So if we executing judgment, then if you execute judgment, you have to destroy the words that contain sin. You have to destroy teachings that contain sin. You have to destroy thoughts that contain sin. You have to destroy actions that contain sin. You have to point it out. And you have to destroy it by the word of Elohim. As he said in Jeremiah 23, the prophets are committing adultery and they telling lies, and they're strengthening people in their wickedness that no man returns. See, niggas around here thinking they being hated because you telling people you Israel. That's not why this man said what you was going to be hated. This man said the world hated him because he testified of it that it was evil. Do you think he was walking around testifying to Romans? Because he wasn't preaching to Romans. He wasn't preaching to Gentiles. We can't turn around in one breath and say he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal, and then not sit back and realize and consider that the people who sought to kill him and despised him and hated him were the very people who said they believed that Yahuwah was their Elohim. And why did they hate him? Because he executed Mishphat. He always went with justice and what was right. They hated him in that instance in John chapter 7 because he healed a man on the Shabbat. He did what was right, and they tried to condemn him for it. He spoke against what was wrong, and they wanted to kill him for it. Nevertheless, Micah chapter 7 verse 3. See, we're gonna sit back and we're gonna understand the difference of judgment. Judgment ain't necessarily what we've always sat back and looked at it to be. Not judging, judgment. Not judging, judgment. Because judging is exactly what you thought it to be. Micah 7 and 3. That they may do evil. With both hands earnestly, the prince asked and the judge asked for a reward. And the great man, he uttered his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is a briar, the most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation come, and now shall be their perplexity. Trust ye not in a friend, put not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lie in thy bosom. For the son dishonored the father, and the daughter rise up against the mother, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and a man's enemies are men of his own house. Now why is that important? I know I mentioned what? John 15, but let's look at John 16 first. 16 and 1. He said a man enemies are those of his own household. After we look at John 16, then we'll go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and then swing back. And swing back to John 15 before we look at Luke chapter 6. And then we're going to look at a difference of, because we talked about a man boasting in a false gift last week. Hey, bring it back. Hey, Leah, get that slide from that dog. Leah. Oh, man. Hold on, y'all. Let it go, nigga.
You chase that slide. You don't chase that, you want to say nothing about that poop, huh?
Yeah, nah, shoot. It wasn't nothing I could do about that poop. That nigga, rather him do it in one spot than take it on the road. You said something to that nigga, you'd have been picking him up. But that nigga was gonna poop regardless. Yes, Gail. Say hello, Gail. Mwah. John 16 and 1. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time come that whosoever kill you will think that he do Elohim service. Now, we just read in Chronicles that it said that it was our people that misused the prophets. It was our people that killed them. It was our people that despised the word. Because remember, it said that Zechariah did not humble himself of the words of Jeremiah from the pay or the mouth of Yahuwah. Pay turning to be what? The pay and the hate. The revealed word of Yahuwah. He said the secret things belong unto Yahuwah, but all the things contained in this law are revealed unto us to give unto our children. The word is being revealed, and men despise it and hate it. Who is he revealing it to? The children of Yasharal. Who are they revealing it to? The children of Yasharal. Who is going to hate you for executing Mishphat, destroying the commands or words that contain sin, but the very people who he sends you to preach the word to? See, the righteous, and we're going to read this, the righteous mouth is supposed to speak of judgment. The righteous mouths are supposed to speak of what is right and to destroy anything that is wrong. Not destroy people who are wrong, but the things that are wrong. You never saw the prophets destroy the people that were wrong unless they were testifying against their deeds. They were always testifying against their deeds, telling the people to turn from their deeds. Know the difference. They were destroying the people's deeds, not the people. See, people feel like you destroying them because they don't want to come to the light because their deeds are evil. So you're condemning me, you're judging me. No one has executed judgment on you. See, if I judge you, that means I have condemned you. And if I have condemned you, then I have to execute a sentence upon you. There's a difference. Know the difference. Every last one of us is supposed to execute judgment. It said that Abraham would teach his household justice and judgment. They would know how to judge correctly. They would know what is right and wrong. That's why we seen that with Jacob. That's why we seen that with Joseph. I will not do such wickedness and sin against Elohim by laying with you. I will destroy your words and your thoughts and commands of sin this day. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to execute judgment between a man and his neighbor. You're supposed to tell him what's right. Not what you feel, not what you think. You're supposed to go with what's right. And the word of Yahuwah is right. Period. So when he sit back and tell you that the time gonna come, who in the synagogues? It ain't no Gentiles in no synagogues. Ain't no Christians in no synagogues, nigga. It's somebody who would have went in the house of Elohim with you and took sweet counsel. Whole time they want to kill you. Because you testifying of the world that its deeds are evil. But it also taking account. Let me continue on. 1 Thessalonians 2 and 13. I don't go on too long. It's Wednesday. I ain't got all night. For this cause also thank we Elohim without ceasing, because when ye received the word of Elohim which you heard of us, you received it not as the word of men, but as it is in truth the word of Elohim, which effectively work also in you that believe. For ye, brethren, become followers of the houses of Elohim, which in Yehuda are in Yahushua HaMashiach, for you also have suffered like things of your own countrymen, even as they have of the Yahudim, who both killed the master Yahusha and their own prophets, and have persecuted us, and they please not Elohim, and are contrary to all men, forbidding us to speak to the Gentiles that they might be saved and fill up their sins always, for the wrath is come upon them to the uttermost. See, now that's when judging get involved. See, sit back and look at it. Who killed the prophets? Who killed Yahusha? It was their own people. Let me tell you something, right? Why do we start dealing with the word and then we too stupid to realize the people that gonna harm you the most are the people closest to you and not an outsider? Outsider ain't gonna... What the Romans care for? John chapter 15. Then we're going to read one good example of judgment. Got something else, then woo 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 and slide on out of here. John 15:15. No, make that 15 and 18. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. Therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his master. If they have persecuted me, they will persecute you. And if they kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. This is going to be impossible for us to unify like how people have in their mind that they want to do. Because if all of us are preaching the word in sincerity and truth, and if all of us are executing judgment, somebody got to not like it. Everybody can't accept it and love it. Because then who's being hated? So we think the only people going to hate us with the word is the nations? Are we that simple? What book have we been reading? Who locked up Jeremiah? It wasn't no Gentile. Who killed the prophet Zechariah? It wasn't no Gentile. It wasn't no Gentile. Who wanted to kill David? It wasn't no Gentile. Shall we continue? Who wanted to kill Elijah? It wasn't no Gentile. You could say it was Jezebel because that was his wife, but Ahab was complicit. Who always had a problem with the prophets? It wasn't the nations, because they weren't going to prophesy to the nations. It's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to that. See, I don't want you to be shocked. See, I don't want you to be amazed. He told you these things that you might not be offended. I don't want you to be shocked when the people who say they believe in Elohim like you. See, let me show y'all something before we go back to Isaiah chapter. Go to Isaiah 65 before we come back to this Luke 6. I didn't want you to know something. This would come with judgment if you're going to execute judgment. Because you should know that Joseph got locked up for executing judgment now. He went to jail for it. Because he stood for what was right. And he destroyed the words that contained sin. He went to jail for it. And it was somebody of his own household. That wasn't no stranger. He lived with this person. Better pay attention. And then you supposed to look at that parallel. That woman being Yasharal and running to that stranger, quote unquote, this Egyptian, and saying he sinned and locked him up without cause. You supposed to turn around and look at, oh no. Oh no, that's the testimony of YAHUAH. A woman getting him locked up, testifying against him falsely because he wouldn't commit sin. Because he stood against it. Where the verse at that I desire? I'm looking right at it. 65 and 12, I would say. Isaiah 65 and 12. Make it 65 and 11. But you are they that forsake Yahuwah, that forget my Kadesh mountain, that prepare a table for that truth, that furnish the drink offering unto that number. Therefore I will number you to the sword, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. And when I spake, you did not hear. But you did evil before my eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. Therefore thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, my servant shall eat, but you shall drink, and behold, my servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, and you shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of ruach, and they shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen. For Yahuwah Elohim shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name. See, this seemed the verse that I wanted. There we go. Verse 5 in chapter 66. That's what I wanted. But they work together, so it's cool. We just want verse 5 though. He said, hear the word of Yahuwah, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you and cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Yahuwah be esteemed, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. They said they hated, he said they hated you for his name's sake. Why did they hate you? It was for the word. We're going to read. Yahuwah is an Elohim of judgment. So they hate judgment. They hate what is right. The book saying in Deuteronomy 32 and about verse 4 or 5 that all the ways of Yahuwah are judgment. That means everything that Yahuwah does destroys the words that contain sin, destroys the words that contain chaos, destroy the commands that command chaos. He destroys that. All his ways are judgment. All of them. So if you are cast out for his name's sake, that means all your ways are judgment. All your doings are judgment. Because you are a son or daughter of the Elohim of judgment. This ain't gonna make a lot of people happy. This is the reality of it. Luke chapter 6. Let's just be real with it, man. I would look at, man, the only people who gonna be unified are those who are in the body of the Son of the living Elohim, Yahushua HaMashiach, the Malik of Malik and Masters of Masters. If they are not unified in him, then there will be no unification, because there is enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. And it's not by accident that the apostle Yochanan, the apostle John, who was writing the Yahudim in his epistle, said how you were able to determine the sons of the devil and the sons of Elohim. And before he went and after he completed that dissertation, that he made reference to Cain and Abel, because Abel's enemy was not a stranger, it was a member of his own household. And he hated Abel for one reason and one reason alone, because his deeds were good and Cain's deeds were evil. So Abel was executing judgment, doing what was right in the eyesight of Yahuwah, and Cain hated him for it. Because by reason of his actions testified against Cain. See, people think because we having this conversation, that means that you're against unity. No, we dealing with what this word say. That people don't be sitting around here and they lose their faith and their soul get damned because they were propped up looking for something to occur that the word did not bear witness would occur. Luke 6 and 22 one more time. Baruch are ye when men shall hate you. We just read that in Isaiah 65, that if your brethren hated you, that Yahuwah would appear to your joy. And when they shall separate you from their company and shall reproach you and cast your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Just like you read in Isaiah 65. Rejoice ye in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in Shamahim, for in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. We already read that in Chronicles. Chronicles stated how they misused them, they despised their words, and y'all had to destroy them. He told you this is what. So how do we make this determination? This means that this is what Yahushua said happened to the people who Yah sent. That they were persecuted, that they were hated, that people separated themselves from them, and that people cast their name as evil. And they had done no wrong. But look at verse 26 though. But woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. Oh no. Oh no. Everybody like you? Everybody. And see, we ain't talking about people not liking you because they don't agree with a particular doctrine that doesn't destroy sin. Because niggas argue about, you ain't nobody hating you for righteousness' sake because a nigga hates you because you believe in a 12 tribe chart, or you teaching things different from the norm. Because if you sent by Yahuwah, you gonna warn the people to turn from. He said if you would have caused the people to hear my words, then you would have turned every man from his transgression. See, don't nobody like to talk about that. But let's look at something, 1 Kings chapter 18. Let's look at somebody who destroyed the words that contain sin. And that the people had to make a determination and make a decision. 1 Kings 18 and 19. Make it verse 17. 18 and 17. It came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah that Ahab said unto him, Art thou he that troubled Yasharal? He answered, I have not troubled Yasharal, but thou in thy father's house, and that you have forsaken the commandments of Yahuwah, and thou hast followed Balaam. Now therefore send and gather to me all Yasharal in the Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves, 400, we eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab said unto all the children of Yasharal, sent unto all the children of Yasharal, and gathered the prophets together on the Mount Carmel. Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If Yahuwah be Elohim, follow him. But if Baal be Elohim, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. And Elijah said unto the people, even I only remain a prophet of Yahuwah, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. See, he told these people that they needed to come and they needed to make a decision. Who are you going to choose? But let's look at something, Jeremiah chapter 7. Let's hold this right here. Come over here, look at Jeremiah 7:1. What you going to choose? How long you going to halt between two opinions? Yes. He's asleep. Jeremiah 7:1. The word of Yahuwah that came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah, saying, stand in the gate of Yahuwah's house and proclaim there this word, and say, hear the word of Yahuwah, all ye of Yehudah, that enter in at these gates to worship Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust ye not in lying words. The temple of Yahuwah. The temple of Yahuwah. The temple of Yahuwah are these. If you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings. So the house of Yahuwah is to repent. Let's pull the Hebrew word for amend. That's the first thing you sit back and look. The way of Yahuwah is to repent. You need to amend your ways. That's the first thing you need to do. That word is yatav. It is to be good. It is to be pleasing. It is to do good to, or to deal well with, or to make a thing good or right, to cause yourself to be accepted. You need to thoroughly do that which is good. Simple as that. And when you look at, wrong word. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So when we look at Yatab, and we look at these three characters, we got the Yah, the Ta, and the U. Yes. And it's going to come that if you're going to amend your ways, that you need to make the sacrifice of the right hand and enter into this covenant. So you're going to have to die to your sins. You're going to have to repent. If this is the temple of Yahuwah. Remember, Yahushua say he spake of the temple of his body. Destroy this temple and I'll rebuild it in 3 days. The literal execution of what the word Yatav is, to mend, to amend. Sacrifice yourself to enter into this covenant. Because that is when you would actually know how to learn how to do judgment. Continuing on. If you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then when I will cause you to dwell in this place, and the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever. Behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely, and burn incense under Baal, and walk after other gods whom you know not? And come and stand before me in this house which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all these abominations? In this house which is called by my name become a den of robbers in your eyes. Behold, even I have seen it, saith Yahuwah. After that, Jeremiah told him he would do that place like Yah did Shiloh, and they wanted to kill him for it. Because he had an executed judgment. He was coming through destroying the commands and words that contain sin. When we look at the part when he said back that he called this place a den of robbers, let's see why. John chapter 2. Just keep your hand on 1 Kings 18. Let's look at it, right? Y'all should know it. We're going to look at it anyway. John chapter 2 and verse 13. Don't you do Abigail like that. And the Yahudine's Passover was at hand. And Yahushua went up to Jerusalem. and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. And said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence, and make not my Abba's house a house of merchandise. If y'all remember from when we looked at it in the law, why stop the noise? Why was there oxen and sheep in the temple? Because it was Passover, remember? Go read Deuteronomy 14. Remember, if you come from a long journey to come to the place where Yah placed his name at to keep the feast, and you were not able to bring those things up with you, that you could turn them into money. And now when you got there, you could buy whatever your soul lusteth after, whether it was sheep or whether it was oxen. And they decided that they would go into the house of Elohim and sell this sheep and this oxen in it during Passover. But they had not sat back and executed judgment. So what did Yahushua come through and do? He executed judgment and destroyed the words or the thoughts that contained sin and tossed them up out of them. Then on top of that, right, when we read, and we good in Jeremiah chapter 7, we come back to 1 Kings 18. Forgive me if I'm going fast. When we turn around and we look at what he said in Jeremiah 7, he ain't talking about no Christians who stealing and murdering and lying and worshiping other gods and blaspheming. He talking about us, we, me, you. That's who he's talking about. Because he said, you said you're delivered or you have been saved. Let's look at the word delivered in this Jeremiah 7. Come over here to Jeremiah 7. Let's just look at the word delivered in that verse. We in verse 10. Jeremiah 7 and 10. The word is not solved. To snatch away. To rescue. To recover. To deliver. To deliver from one enemies of trouble. We have the noon and the sar and the lamad. When we look at the lamad, the noon, we know we got life. When we look at this sar, we look at pull towards or line on one side or journey or teach. So he's teaching you on your journey to life. So you mean to tell me on your teaching, on your way to life, that you are delivered to do these abominations in this man? Paul wrote in his letter to the epistles, to the Galatians, excuse me. This is Galatians 2 by verse 15 that I'm referencing, maybe by verse 16. This man say, if I destroy the things, if I rebuild the things that I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. In the fourth chapter of the epistle that he wrote to the Ephesians, he said that you ain't such learned to commit sin in Mashiach. Paul said, is Mashiach the minister of sin? Elohim forbid. Mashiach's not the servant of sin. Yahushua didn't teach you to sin. He didn't deliver you from sin for you to sin in him. Because Paul wrote to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 that if you join to Mashiach, you one Ruach. So we take the Ruach of Elohim and join it to a harlot. Elohim forbid. No. This man has not rescued you from death and taught you the way of life for you to be around here living in sin. For you to say that you have been delivered to dwell in him in sin. This man say, do not take your freedom as an opportunity for the occasion of the flesh. This is what we talking about when we talk about executing judgment. This is what we talking about when we talking about destroying the words that contain sin. This is what we talking about. How long are you going to halt between two opinions? 1 Kings chapter 18. We're going to drop down about verse 27. And it came to pass at noon, Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a God. Either he's talking, or he is pursuing, or he's in a journey, or peradventure he sleep and must be awaked. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner. Remember, after their manner. Let's look at manner and see. Remember, because judgment also means custom. It's not our custom to do what's wrong. See, niggas always scream about Israelite custom. Don't nobody scream about our custom is to do what's right at all times. We don't like to talk about that because that makes us uncomfortable. See, when you go to speaking against sin and you're participating in sin, when you're participating in chaos, it makes you uncomfortable. And people don't like to have that conversation. And guess what it says themselves after their manner? Mishphat. Because that's their custom. That's how they operate. They judge that to this is what is correct.